everybody, and welcome to the weekly Scopes from the 23rd to the 29th of June. Hi everybody, and welcome to this week's weekly Scopes. If you've heard this before, you can skip, but this is just the intro on how I formulate these astrology weekly readings. I use astrology and my intuition to give you advice how you can practically use the knowledge of the stars and the planets and apply them to your life. So my weekly scopes are all based on GMT time and on Vedic constellational astrology. So now I'm just going to explain what Vedic constellation astrology is and how it differs from Western astrology. So the precession of the equinox is sort of like something that happens in astronomy and astrology, where the Earth's axis undergoes a slow circular motion over 26,000 years, and basically this means that this motion causes a shift in the position of the equinoxes and also the calculation Vedic and Western astrologies use. So around 2,000 years ago, the tropical and sidereal Vedic astrology signs of astrology were aligned in the same position. So if the sun was in Scorpio in Vedic astrology, it was also in the constellation of Scorpio in Western astrology. But because of the precession of the equinoxes, this has caused a gradual westward sort of like drift of the tropical Western signs. So basically these signs and the Western signs shift 1 degree with every 72 years. So as a result of this ongoing shift, when Western astrology says the sun is in the constellation of Pisces, it's typically in the constellation of Aquarius. Still, this is because the degree, orb and the date for Western and Vedic astrology are 24 degrees 24 days apart. So in Western astrology, the sun enters the constellation of Pisces around the 19th of February each year, but actually the sun doesn't arrive into the constellation of Pisces until the 13th to the 15th of March each year, and Vedic astrology takes this into account because it's based on the fixed star positions, and Vedic astrologers use sidereal calculations. So as a result, Vedic astrology takes into account the actual positions of the constellations in the sky at any given time, and also considers the precession of the equinox, adjusting for the shift in the position of the equinoxes over time. But in terms of Western astrology follows the tropical zodiac, which is based on the seasons rather than fixed star positions. Western astrologers also do not directly account for the precession of the equinox in their calculations as well, so this results in slightly different calculations and interpretations that are given whether we're using Western astrology or Vedic astrology. So yeah, as I said, Western astrology uses specific dates, so every year, regardless of where the sun actually is at the sky, the sun moves into Pisces around the 19th of February. So yeah, this discrepancy, this misalignment between the tropical zodiac and the actual positions of the constellations has led to a discrepancy between Vedic astrology and Western astrology. So I consider the actual where the sun and the moon are and where Mars and Venus are at any given time, and this is how I formulate these sort of like weekly scopes. So yeah, thanks for listening to this, and let's dive into this week's weekly scope. So Mercury makes a parallel with Venus on the 27th. This is exact at 9:43 p.m. It entered on the 6th of June at 3:57 a.m. and it leaves us on the 5th of July at 7:07 a.m. The Sun also makes a parallel to Mercury on the 29th at 3:57, and that entered on the 6th of June. It was also influencing, and I'm not sure if it was last week or the week before, but yeah, it was the week before. It was exact at 4:30 a.m. on the 11th of June, and it's also exact on the 29th of June at 3:56 a.m. and leaves on the 5th of July as well. And Mercury makes a contra parallel to Pluto on the 29th at 9:17 p.m. It entered on the 20th of June, and it's exact, as I said, at 9:17, and it leaves us at on the 4th of July at 2:32 p.m. So this week, first aspect that's affecting us is Mercury parallel to Uranus, so it helps us be more creative, especially in our emotional expressions. It can help us have smoother conversations in both all areas of our life, so whether it's professional or personal. So some of you may find it easier to express your feelings to loved ones or negotiate effectively in business deals, but it can also make us have a tendency towards being superficial or indecisive in decision making. So it's important to strike a balance between logic and emotions and use this energy to have more uplifting, heartfelt conversations, writing love letters or exploring being creative and having more clear sort of communication and just developing emotional connection with ourselves and others as well. So yeah, the sun's parallel to Mercury illuminates our mind, with clarity and purpose under the spotlight of the sun. So it allows us to be sharper in our thinking this week, be more effective in our communication and have more confidence in expressing our ideas to others. It's great for giving presentations at work with precision and charisma, and we can engage in debates with more of a sense of authority. So good to show off your expertise. Things can get a bit fiery under this because people can become overly opinionated and arrogant in their communication style and egotistical in general, so it's essential to remain open to feedback and consider other people's opinions and needs during this week. And it's also good for sales, marketing, writing and stuff, this energy of sun parallel to Mercury, so great energy for writers and creators as well. To make the best of this, focus on refining your public speaking skills, writing persuasive articles or creating persuasive podcasts and content and stuff in general, and just engage in more intellectual stimulating discussions, and just allow yourself to be open, because when we have intellectual stimulating discussions, this is where we can be in the sign this week. So don't be afraid to show off your expertise, but know other people may have expertise as well, and just respect differing opinions. Mercury's contra parallel to Pluto blends Mercury's analytical nature with Pluto's transformative energy, so it can add to the power struggle. So there was power struggling week last week as well. So yeah, anyway, we can manipulate people with our words, or we can be manipulated by other people's words and actions, and we can be excessive in our thinking patterns as well. So it's important to be mindful this week on how we use our words and actions, and just consider the effect of what we say and do and how it affects other people, and really take time out to think about the long-term impact of your words as well. Yeah, so positively it can give us psychological insights, emotional insights, helps us uncover hidden truths. A great energy for research, investigation. So if you're working police detective or anything to do with scientific research and stuff like that, anything to do with checking facts, and maybe if you've been putting off tedious detail orientated work, this is a good energy to give you the staying power and the stamina to sort of do that, and the patience to stay with work that's emotionally draining as well. So it's important with this energy to practice active listening, maintain transparency in your connections, and be willing to confront challenging emotions or ideas head on, and just be open to personal growth and understanding. On the 23rd of June, Mercury makes a square to the moon's north node at 2:13. Also today, the moon enters void of course at 10:02 a.m. and the moon enters Capricorn also at 6:18 p.m. So when Mercury forms a square to the moon's north node, we can have conflicting desires. We may want to only engage in things that are familiar to us, that may be scared of the unknown, and we may find growth and challenging to commit to our personal growth, and communication can become challenging under this influence as well. But positively, it does help us to address unresolved emotional issues that get in the way of our progress. For instance, some of you may struggle with speaking your truth right now, and I said this is the week where we should speak our truth. We've got a lot of energy supporting that, but we can have a fear of rejection right now. But this energy pushes us to confront and heal this pattern or any other patterns that we have around communication this week. But negatively, because we can feel torn between our logic and intuition on our emotional side, tensions in relationships can be amplified if we don't approach ourselves and other people with self-awareness and sensitivity right now. However, the moon in Capricorn brings a practical and disciplined energy to our emotions and reactions right now, so this helps counteract the negative effects of Mercury square to the moon's north node. So we may find ourselves more focused on long-term goals and responsibilities at this time, but just avoid any sort of emotional or overworking or burnout in general. So some of you may, for example, using the energy of the moon in Capricorn brings emotional stability, so this allows us to excel in a demanding work environment. And so, for example, this energy allows us to use emotional stability to excel, do good in a demanding work environment right now, to excelling in the things that can be challenging right now. And so it just brings us that groundedness that we need for this the first couple of days of this week. But negatively, we can be too emotionally detached or rigid, inflexible in our feelings, emotionally colder. If we don't balance this energy, it can lead to us suppressing emotions and our responses and become overly critical of ourselves and others this week. So it's important this week for us to be mindful of the potential for communication challenges, but also take advantage of the energy that allows us to grow emotionally as well. It allows us to address unresolved issues that have been blocking our progress, and the moon in Capricorn just allows us to have that groundedness and that balance and focus on our long-term goals and responsibilities. On the 24th of June, the moon enters void of course at 11:59 p.m, and that's all that happens. On the 25th of June, Mars makes a semi-set star to the moon's north node. The moon also enters its disseminating moon phase at 1:15. Venus makes a semi-square to Uranus at 8:02, and the moon enters Aquarius at 9:20 p.m. as well. So Mars' semi-set star to the moon's north node brings a harmonious kind of blend of assertive energy represented by Mars and emotional growth and destiny that's represented by the moon's north node. So this combination encourages us towards fulfilling our karmic path with more determination and vitality, just being more interested in growth. So for example, you may feel motivated to go after your passions or assert yourself in a way that aligns with your authentic values and your higher consciousness or your soul's purpose. But negatively, the intensity of Mars can sometimes lead to impulsive actions and conflicts, so it's important to use this excess of energy productively, even if it's just exercise, making love, whatever. It's essential to stay mindful of how you express your desires and avoid being overly aggressive or confrontational during this transit. So it's key to use Mars' drive and the North Node's guidance towards productive things and constructive goals and doing things that are meaningful to you, to make the use of this influence, but also to respect other people's boundaries as well, because it can be rather pushy at this time and stuff, and also to assert your boundaries and not let other people walk over you as well. So the disseminating moon phase allows us to share knowledge, have insights, and just be open to experiencing things with others. It encourages open communication and collaboration in order to spread wisdom and understanding. During this phase, you may find yourself drawn to teaching, writing, or engaging in meaningful conversations that have more of a positive impact on others. However, there can be a risk of information overload or miscommunication during this transit. It's important to ensure that your messages are clear and well received, and avoid excessive or scattered sharing of information. So by focusing on meaningful exchanges and purposeful sharing, You can use the supportive energy of the disseminating moon phase to inspire and uplift those around you. Remember to believe your desire to spread, disseminate knowledge with active listening, and be open, receptive to other people's perspectives for truly enriching experience during the disseminating moon phase. So just be open to other people's opinions and stuff, you know, and just people disagreeing with you. Venus is semi-square to Uranus positively allows us to sort of like be open, especially if you are single, to new romantic or hookup connections or committed relationships, and also make creative plans and just have more of a desire for change and freedom. So some of you may decide to try a different creative expression. If you create content, you may decide to, you know, use different techniques as well. And some of you may just have more of a passion for painting, drawing, singing and stuff like that right now as well, or anything else, you know, that's creative right now. But negatively, we can be more impulsive in our decisions, especially when it comes to love and finances, and this can cause financial instability or instability in our relationships and conflict. You know, some of you may overspend, or a relationship can abruptly end as well without us, you know, considering how can I explain it, the consequences. So we may just end the connection. I mean, it may naturally end, or someone may end things with you and they may not consider the consequences, or you may not. So just be cautious, you know. Yeah, if you feel the need that something has to end, you want to quit that job, quit that bad habit, yeah, go for it as well, but make sure, as we say in the UK, you don't cut your nose off to spite your face, so you don't sort of like do things that are detrimental to you in the long run. The moon in Aquarius allows us to have more independence, use our intuition, be open to being innovative. We may feel more open-minded and inclined towards being more sort of like charitable with others, doing social activist work, and we just can just be more open to non-conforming and having more unconventional ideas. So some of you may feel compelled, pushed to join a social cause, as I said, or start a project that promotes social equality and progress within your community, or, you know, for those of you that think global, something that can benefit all of humanity and help us rise the collective consciousness. But negatively, it can make us more emotionally detached and aloof in our personal relationships, are just cold, and this can cause problems. And we've already got Venus is semi-square to Uranus causing problems, so the moon in Aquarius is doubling this as well. So because people can prioritise being more intellectual, you know, having intellectual experiences and connections over creating deep emotional bonds right now, we can just sort of like just hurt others, not intentionally. So just make sure if you need space, you need time out, just say that's what I'm getting at. But ultimately encourages us to embrace being an individual and embrace change, while also, you know, kind of developing deeper bonds with like-minded people, with people that think like you as well. So it's a great energy for networking, expanding your social circle, exploring unique perspectives, and embracing your authentic selves in all areas of your life. So yeah, on the 26th of June, the Sun makes a quintile to Chiron at 7:10 a.m. Venus makes a square to the Moon's North Node at 5:07 p.m. and Mercury makes a trine to Saturn at 7:10 p.m. as well. So yeah, the Sun's quintile to Chiron brings a harmonious aspect between our core identity, that's represented by the Sun, and the deep inner wounds that we carry, that's represented by Chiron. So it allows us to tap into our healing abilities. And you may think I ain't got any, but believe me, you know, I believe that as a species, as humanity, we are more resilient, and each person has skills within that all they need to do is work at bringing out, and this can help them with their personal growth and their emotional and spiritual and psychological understanding. This energy allows us to embrace our vulnerabilities. So some of you may gain a deeper understanding of your childhood traumas and use that awareness to become more compassionate as an individual. So also today, Venus makes a square to the Moon's North Node. So this again shows that conflicts can come up between our relationship needs and our personal needs, and especially the needs that we need to pay attention to grow on the higher consciousness, soul, evolutionary level. So this transit challenges us to find a balance between our personal desires, represented by Venus, and our karmic path, which is represented by the North Node. So some of you may experience difficulties in your romantic relationships due to unresolved past life issues that need to be addressed in order for you to grow on the spiritual, psychological or emotional level, or even the financial levels. You know, you may have blocks that's stopping you from bringing financial abundance into your life. And anything that comes up now, even though it can be scary, it can be hard, try and take some time out to have some self-reflection and ask yourself, you know, what is it that you need to heal in order to live a more balanced life. Mercury also makes a trine to Saturn, so this creates a supportive connection between communication, which is represented by Mercury, and structure, that's represented by Saturn. So it increases our ability to communicate effectively and make long-term plans with precision and clarity. So some of you may find it easier to articulate your ideas at work, and this can lead to you gaining more recognition and just being more strategic in your thinking and more meticulous in your approach to how you go about tasks. On the 27th of June, the moon enters void of course at 7:11 p.m, and that's all that happens. Mercury also makes its exact parallel to Venus actually at 9:45 on the 27th, but I've talked about that at the beginning of the week, so I'm not going to talk about it again. On the 28th of June, the moon enters Pisces at 2 minutes past midnight. Mercury leaves out of bounds at 11:08 a.m. Mercury makes a semi-square to Jupiter at 12:06 a.m. Mercury makes a square to Chiron at 8:59 p.m. The moon's north node goes direct at 10:52 p.m. and the moon also enters its last quarter moon phase at 10:54 p.m. So yeah, the moon entering Pisces signifies an increased time of emotional sensitivity, creativity and intuitive insights. So this can increase our empathy and emotional understanding, and it can make us more moody or want to escape, because you know Neptune rules Pisces and some other Neptune energy today. No, it does not. I'm talking Cap. So yeah, anyway, Neptune rules Pisces, and also esoterically Jupiter co-rules it, and Jupiter's involved with a semi-square with Mercury, which I'm going to talk about in a bit. But anyway, negatively, Neptune energy can also always make us escape into our toxic habits, excessively take too much drugs and alcohol and do things that sort of like numb us to our pain, because we don't want to face reality right now as well, and because we can be more emotionally unstable right now, we can just want to run into our toxic habits as well. But the best use of this energy is being creative, listening to music, dancing, singing, screaming, doing anything, doing some meditation that helps you relax and feel more stable within. So when Mercury comes back in bounds, we can have, you know, more fresh perspectives on the introspection that we did, and use the innovative ideas that we got when Mercury was out of bounds and implement them now. Because when Mercury was out of bounds, we may have got the ideas but we may not have been able to apply them, but now we can. But negatively, it can make us more scattered in our thinking, and this can add to the misunderstandings as well. So the best use of Mercury coming back in bounds is to brainstorm, use the ideas that you had while Mercury was out of bounds, and just explore being more conventional in your communication style. Mercury semi-square to Jupiter adds to the tension we can have over the next few days when it comes to communication and decision making. So positively, it can make us have a thirst for expansion and learning, but negatively, our overconfidence can lead to information overload. So the best use of this energy is to seek a balance between being optimistic and practical in our communication and decision making. Mercury square to Chiron can also bring up old wounds and insecurities, especially those related to communication, but allows us to heal through honest communications and being honest with ourselves about our psychological and emotional wounds. And but the negatives can be that there can be, it can add to the communication breakdowns of the day, and we can have low self-esteem and just, be really have doubt about ourselves. So the best use of this energy is to, practice self-compassion, love and care, seek clarity in communication, seek out help to do so if you feel like all over the place. When the moon's north node goes direct, it allows us to move forward in our life, positively supports our growth, but we can have a resistance to change or feel overwhelmed by responsibilities. The best use of this energy is to set intentions and take decisive actions towards achieving our goals and resolving our problems in our relationships or whatever area in our life we have problems. So and just allow ourselves to be guided by intuition and our inner wisdom. The last quarter moon phase allows us to let go of the things that no longer serve us and make room for new opportunities. But negatively, we can just be scared of change, getting outside of our comfort zone and the unknown right now. So just try and embrace the unknown. Be gentle with yourself if you can, instead of running away from what's happening right now by doing toxic actions. Try and nurture yourself positively and just give yourself the time and space to process things at this time. So on the 29th of June, the Sun makes a semi-sextile to Jupiter at 1:54 a.m. The Sun makes a parallel to Mercury at 3:57 a.m. The Moon's North Node goes retrograde at 5:35 a.m. Venus makes a sextile to Mars at 5:50 a.m. Mercury enters Cancer at 7:55 a.m. The Moon enters void of course at 11:16 a.m. Mars makes a semi-square to Neptune at 2:38 p.m. Venus also leaves out of bounds at 5:03 p.m. Saturn goes retrograde at 8:06 p.m. and Mercury makes its exact contraparallel to Pluto at 9:17 p.m. I talked about Mercury's contraparallel at the beginning and how it's going to affect our week. So the Sun's semi-sextile to Jupiter as we approach the end of the week just allows us to have a greater sense of abundance. It's great to work on bringing the success we want in our life and to work on our, personal growth and understanding. But negatively, we can take on too much and promise things that we can't deliver, and this can lead to heartache in our relationships because we can let people down, because we can be overly optimistic. So just make sure you only say yes to the things you can do right now, and apologize if you do let others down. And even the best intentions can go crazy right now, so don't beat yourself up if you find out you said yes to something but then it's a no. Just apologize and move on. The best use of this energy is to set realistic goals, expand your horizons, learn new things, book a trip, travel long term, book a trip abroad, or just research other people's cultures online, and this can help you expand your mindset, your perspective on the world, and just allow yourself to be open to new possibilities. When the Moon's North Node goes retrograde, it can make us turn more inward, but it can also make us feel and add to the confusion and the feeling of loss. But just know that it's temporary. As this energy shifts, you may come back more in alignment with your sense of self and purpose. The best use of this energy is to take time to reflect on your past, make the necessary changes that you need, and focus on your personal and spiritual growth right now. Venus's sextile to the Moon's North Node allows us to bring more harmony into the relationships with our others and with ourselves as well. It can make us more passionate, more creative and more motivated, but negatively there can be conflict because everybody can just feel things more strongly right now, can have increasing desires because we've got Venus sextile Mars, our sexual energy, so we can just be a bit pushy. So make sure we respect other people's boundaries, gain consent, and channel this excess energy in healthy ways rather than in self-destructive ways or in ways that we can harm our relationships. So the best use of this energy is to work on creative projects, strengthen our bonds and relationships, and express our feelings more authentically. Also today Mercury enters Cancer, so this can help us build deeper connections with understanding, but it can make us moody and overly sensitive, and this can affect how clear we can think as well. So just, as I said, use this time to engage in helpful conversations, listen attentively, give yourself the grace to not have the answers right now, be gentle with yourself if you do feel moody, do things that soothe you in a non-toxic way to bring you more emotional sort of warmth. Just be mindful of the emotional sort of nuances, the things that we don't say, so pay attention to body language in your interactions, because by paying attention to the things that people are saying in the silent moments or between their words can really help you enrich your communication and deepen relationships with yourself and others right now. Allow yourself to be vulnerable and connect on a deeper level with yourself and others right now as well. Also, Mars is square to Neptune adds to the challenges that we have been experiencing this week on being assertive, finding our direction, adds to, the confusion and lack of clarity. But positively, it also supports us being, more creative and open to change. If you want to know more about Mercury entering Cancer and Saturn going retrograde, which I'm going to talk about in a bit, then I've done separate audios. So when Venus leaves out of bounds, which happens today, this can just bring more of a sense of freedom in our relationships. It just helps us to repair any bonds that we may have damaged when Venus was out of bounds, and now it's coming back in bounds. It just helps us to be more expressive, but it can also add to the unpredictability and impulsiveness as well. So just use this energy to embrace being spontaneous while also being mindful of your own and other people's boundaries. So Saturn retrograde happens today as well. So Saturn normally stays retrograde, I think, for about 3 to 5 months. I've done a separate audio, so check it out, but ultimately it needs us and wants us to use the restriction and delays in progress that it can bring to build more patience for ourselves and others, to self-reflect and think about, because a lot of people fear Saturn, but really it doesn't want us not to achieve our goals, but it wants us to look at the small details. Because a lot of time we can focus on the bigger picture of things, Jupiter, and ignore the hard daily work. And this is why I say change is something that we should be doing daily, and it's best done step by step, giving yourself the grace for mistakes. As I keep on saying, sometimes we take a million steps forward and then we take 20 billion steps back, so it's a lifelong journey. I don't see change as an overnight thing. So Saturn retrograde allows us to review our long-term goals and responsibilities and align with our true desires, and although it can be challenging, it's best to embrace this energy and time for self-reflection and rethinking about your plans and your goals, so that so you may have goals and you may not achieve them, but it's not because you're not meant to achieve them. It can just be because you haven't come up with a solid plan. So this energy allows us to make strategic plans so we can bring greater stability into our future and achieve our goals. So the best use of this energy is to use it to strengthen your foundations and lay solid groundwork for your goals to really flourish and grow. So yeah, that's the end, folks. So that with the weekly scopes from the 23rd to the 29th of June.